So, guys, the Cowboys are heading into their final preseason game against the Saints, and for some players on this defense, this could be their last opportunity to prove they belong on the final roster. There are still a few guys sitting right on that roster bubble, some position battles that haven't been completely settled, and now every single rep could make a difference. But this isn't only about who stays and who goes, because under Christian Parker, the competition across this defense is starting to get very interesting. So, let me explain which defensive players are under the most pressure, what's changing with this unit, and why the Cowboys' defensive competition just took a serious turn. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Alright, let's get into it, because this final preseason game is going to tell us a lot about who makes this roster. I mean, this is the moment. There's no more hiding, there's no more waiting around. If you're a bubble guy on this defense, this is your one shot to show the coaching staff something real. Every single year around this time, you see guys walking around the facility a little more tense than usual, wondering if their name is going to be on that final list. And honestly, there's a handful of names I've got my eye on, guys who need this game more than anybody else on the roster. Let me start with Sam Williams. Look, if Williams really wants to keep wearing that silver and blue helmet, he's got to show us something in this final game. That's just the bottom line, honestly. There's no handouts here. There's no free passes just because of where he was drafted. Then you've got Caelen Carson, who's on some of the thinnest ice on this whole defense. We know the guy can tackle. That's never really been the question. But it's the coverage, it's the penalties, it's the little stuff that keeps piling up against him, and that's what's going to decide if he's still here in September. Now, on the other hand, you got a guy like Devin Moore, the rookie corner they took in the draft. Teams don't usually draft a guy just to cut him a few months later, right? So that already bumps him up the depth chart a little bit compared to some of these other names. But look, the guy I'm really rooting for is Josh Butler. Here's the thing, when a guy doesn't get a ton of reps, it usually goes one of two ways. Either the coaches already love him and they're protecting him, or they've already made up their mind and they're getting ready to move on. And I'm leaning toward the first one with Josh Butler because from what I'm hearing, he's fast, he's well liked in that building, from the coaching staff all the way down to the equipment guys. So, I think they might actually be saving him a little bit instead of overexposing him. We'll know soon enough, because by the time final cuts come around, guys are going to be walking those hallways wondering if they made the team. Okay, now let's shift over to the nickel spot, because this is honestly one of the more interesting battles on the entire defense. Right now, Caleb Downs is your starting nickel corner, even though most people still think of him as a straight-up safety. And that's what makes this whole thing so complicated, because once you move past Caleb Downs, who exactly is your backup at that spot? You've got Reddy Steward, who played nickel corner for Dallas last year and is now fighting to hang on to that same role now that Caleb Downs has taken over the starting nickel job. Then there's Derion Kendrick, picked up this offseason after his time with the LA Rams. And you can't talk about this room without mentioning Cobie Durant, another big free agent ad from the Rams this year, who a lot of people around the building already see as a strong candidate to start outside. And even with Durant in the mix outside the nickel spot behind Caleb Downs is still wide open with Kendrick and Reddy Steward as the main names in that conversation. And that's what makes this room so deep and so crowded. And don't forget about Zion Childress, who we honestly haven't seen much of at all in camp because he's been dealing with an injury, and that alone makes him a real practice squad candidate right now. It's tough, because when you're hurt during camp, you basically lose your chance to make a case in front of the coaches, and that's exactly the situation he's in heading into cut-down day. So, when you put it all together, this nickel and corner room is genuinely one of the most crowded position battles on this entire roster, and I don't envy the coaching staff having to sort through all of it. Now let's talk about what's actually driving all of this competition, and that's Christian Parker. I got a chance to really sit and think about what this man has built in just one offseason, and honestly, it's impressive. He's cerebral. He knows his football inside and out, and you can already see it in how this defense communicates and attacks the football compared to last year. This is a whole different level of physicality. And it's not just talk either, because think about what Marcus Dixon did with his unit up in Minnesota the last couple of years. That Vikings group was one of the best pass rush units in the entire league, tied for 4th in sacks league-wide, and you probably can't even name half the players who were on that roster. That tells you it's about the system and the coaching, not just the name on the jersey. So when you put Christian Parker and Marcus Dixon together with this new group of Cowboys defenders, I think we're looking at a defense that's got real teeth this year. And honestly, that's the part that gets me the most excited as a fan, because it's not just talent for the sake of talent anymore. There's an actual proven plan behind it now. And speaking of new pieces, we've got to talk about Jaishawn Barham, because this rookie linebacker has genuinely turned some heads this camp. The mentality on this kid is different, honestly. He doesn't smile much, he's not out here doing interviews for fun, and he's not interested in being a personality off the field. He's here to play football, that's it. People around this team keep comparing him to Ray Lewis, just the way he carries himself, the intensity in his eyes, even before he says a word. And when you watch how he handled the green dot duties calling the defense as a rookie, that's not something you just hand to anybody. He said it himself, he did it in college, so stepping up to the NFL level and calling plays just feels like the next step for him. He's still working through some things, his hands, his height and coverage, sideline to sideline range, but the physical tools and that no-nonsense mentality are exactly what this defense has been missing. And honestly, the fact that he's this locked in as a rookie tells you everything about where his head is at. He's not out here chasing likes off one good preseason snap. He's talking about needing to hone his craft over and over again. That's rare to hear from a guy this young. Now here's what really gets me excited. It's not just Jaishawn Barham on his own, it's the whole young core coming up together. You put Caleb Downs, Malachi Lawrence, and Jaishawn Barham in the same rookie class, and all three of them carry that same locked-in, no-games attitude. They're serious about winning, they're serious about getting better every single day, and you can throw Shavon Revel in there too as kind of the older brother of that young group. Even LT Overton up front is starting to show that same kind of edge. This is the kind of young talent that can genuinely transform a defense over the next couple of years, and it's rare to see this many guys with that mentality show up in the same rookie class. Most of the time, you get one guy who really pops, but this year it feels like a whole wave is coming in at once. But it's not just about the young guys, because this defense still has some serious veteran firepower holding it all together. You've got Rashan Gary and Donovan Ezeuruwaku off the edge. Then you move inside to Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, two guys that offensive linemen are already saying they've never faced anything quite like. Then there's Von Miller, who's not just rushing the passer anymore, he's basically become a teacher on the side for these younger guys. And in the middle of it all, you got DeMarvion, Overshown, and D. Winters setting the tone at linebacker. When you line up this defense from Rashan Gary all the way down to guys like Jalen Thompson and Malik Hooker in the secondary, this is a completely different unit than what we saw wearing this uniform last season. Last year, we were talking about this defense for all the wrong reasons. Guys, it felt like every single week there was another blown coverage or another missed tackle going viral for the wrong reasons. Now you're hearing veterans talk about chemistry, about double teams, about setting each other up for success, and that's a totally different energy than what this fan base has had to deal with the last couple of years.